Go ahead.
So are we ready?
Yes.
All right, good morning. Today is Friday, December 16th, and this is the time and place for a special meeting of the Nevada Gaming Commission. At this time, if you would stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, has our agenda been posted in accordance with the open meeting law?
Yes, it has.
All right. Thank you. At this time, I would like to remind anyone coming to the podium to speak. We ask that you speak directly into the microphone and speak as clearly as possible, as this meeting is being transmitted electronically and being transcribed. Madam Secretary, if we could proceed with our first agenda item, public comments.
This item is placed on the agenda to give the public an opportunity to comment on gaming-related matters.
All right, anyone who wishes to address the commission may do so at this time. Matters brought to our attention during the public comment cannot be acted upon, but we're happy to hear comments by members of the public and as well as my fellow commissioners. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes as a reasonable time, manner, and place restriction. If any of my fellow commissioners or myself ask questions of the public, the time needed to address those questions will not be held against any of those time constraints. If you have any handouts or copies of comments to provide, please do not approach the dais with them. An enforcement agent will come and grab them from you. I'm going to start in Carson City. Anyone wishing to make a public comment, please step forward to the podium. There being none. Anyone present here in Las Vegas? There being none. All right, that will close our public comment section. Madam Secretary, if you could now read our special agenda item into the record.
Today on your special agenda is non-restricted number 1, which is the application of Seminole HR Holdings LLC for registration as a holding company and for finding of suitability as sole member of SHRE SHRI LLC. You also have the application of SHRE SHRI LLC for registration as an intermediary company and for finding of suitability as sole member of Seminole Hard Rock International LLC. It is also the application of Seminole Hard Rock International LLC for registration as an intermediary company and for finding of suitability as sole member of HR Nevada LLC. It is also the application of HR Nevada LLC for registration as an intermediary company and for finding of suitability as sole member of the Mirage Casino Hotel LLC. You also have the application of the Mirage Casino Hotel LLC doing business as the Mirage for a transfer of interest as noted on the agenda. It is also the applications of James Allen, Jim Shore, Agnes Billy Motlow, Carla Gopher, Brad Buchanan, Connie Whidden, Alexander Johns, Michael Rumbles, and Robert Gibbs for finding of suitability as a key executive and or member of the Board of Managers as noted on the agenda. You also have the applications of James Allen, Jim Shore, Brad Buchanan, and Joseph Lupo for licensure as a key executive, key employee, and or member of the Board of Managers. The recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for approval with conditions as noted on the agenda. I believe we have a disclosure and a recusal on this item.
Commissioner Keycapper?
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, I need to disclose that I'm an employee of the law firm Donald Carano. The applicant in this matter is represented by Mr. Burnett, who's a partner in Donald Carano, and as such, I feel that I need to make this disclosure and recuse myself from participating due to the prior existing financial relationship.
Did you get any of that? You did? Okay. All right. Thank you very much. It was cutting in and out every other word, but our court reporter got it, she says.
She's the best. Thank you.
All right.
And I have a number of disclosures, Chair. Thank you. Seminole Hard Rock Digital LLC, Hard Rock Cafe International USA Inc., and the Seminole Tribe of Florida are adverse in a Navajo Nation gaming enterprise matter involving general gaming advice from Louis Roca, the firm where I am a partner, is not the exact entity, and I make this disclosure in an abundance of caution because the names are similar. Mirage Casino Hotel is a client of Louis Roca in an intellectual property matter and an affiliate of MGM Resorts International and City Centerland LLC. Michael Rumbles is the principal officer of Affinity Gaming, a client of Louis Roca. MGM Resorts International is a client of Louis Roca in intellectual property matters. Mandalay Bay Delano, Mandalay Corp., and Mandalay Resort Group are clients of Louis Roca in intellectual property matters, and Mandalay Bay LLC is a subsidiary of the MGM Resorts International. These all involve unrelated matters in which I am not personally involved. I have no pecuniary interest in the outcome of these agenda items, and in the avoidance of doubt, these relate to agenda items number 1 and 2 today, and I do not believe the independence of judgment of a reasonable person in my position would be affected by the relationship described on the record, and I therefore intend to participate. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the Commission, Madam Secretary, excuse me, A.G. Burnett with the law firm of McDonald Carano. Here with me is Mr. Jim Allen, the CEO of Hard Rock, and all of the entities on your agenda today. First off, on behalf of all of the parties involved, Hard Rock and MGM, I want to thank all of you for your accommodation today. We are all very grateful and appreciative for you allowing us to have this special meeting today. Both parties have been working seamlessly, constantly night and day to ensure the smoothest transition possible, assuming your hopeful affirmative vote today. We are thrilled to be in front of you today. We believe this is a historic day for the Strip, for Las Vegas, and for the entire state of Nevada. We had a very thorough hearing before the Gaming Control Board where we received an affirmative vote, and we're hoping for your affirmative final vote today. As we told the board, Hard Rock, via the entities and individuals reflected on your agenda, is now poised to own and operate the Mirage. This historic acquisition by such an iconic brand will mark a new era for the Mirage and for the Strip. As we demonstrated to the GCB and will now show you, the Mirage will be in good hands as it becomes part of Hard Rock's already amazing portfolio of gaming and entertainment destinations. Of course, we have all of the applicants here before you today who are, of course, prepared to give you their backgrounds. We're happy to proceed with our entire affirmative presentation, an abbreviated affirmative presentation, go straight to questions, however you, Madam Chair, and the Commission would like to proceed.
I think we would be thrilled with an abbreviated presentation.
Okay,
Thank
Mr. Allen is prepared to do so, so I will turn the podium over to him.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the Commission. Certainly, it's an honor to be in front of you here this morning. It'll be a little bit of a trick to do an abbreviated version of Hard Rock, obviously a company that's been around for 50 years and owned by the Seminole Tribe since 2007. So hopefully our presentation comes up. I think we've worked with the technology team for that to do so. And how do we get a full screen enlargement with that? There. Okay, if that's the
And so,
size we're going to use, I'm not sure if everyone.
sir, just so you know, we had the benefit of viewing you at the board presentation, so we have seen all of that, but we're happy to see you here today.
Oh, okay, thank you.
And we also have the transcript, so we have 2 different mediums by which to review and listen and watch and rewind if you'd like, which we've done.
Okay. So I think with that in context, we certainly won't hit every slide because obviously the previous meeting with the board was quite extensive. But I think it is important to at least bring you up to speed as to who Hard Rock is and where we are today. The brand today is in 70 countries around the world, approaching 265. Actually, if we look at deal flow, actually approaching 300 locations on a global basis. There's over 50,000 employees associated with the brand. The brand is the largest owner of music memorabilia in the world. And one of the things I think we like to highlight, that's not just classic rock and roll. You know, that is today's artist, that is country, that is artists from anywhere in the world as we try to move forward from a cultural aspect. We do over 35,000 live music events on an annual basis and have direct relationships with Live Nation, Rock Nation, and AEG. Over 140 million people come to Hard Rock locations on an annual basis. So maybe just to give a footnote as to, you know, some of the milestones. Back in 1971, Isaac and Peter Mort founded Hard Rock in London. It was a individual restaurant. What's very interesting is the Seminole tribe decided to actually purchase that location. And we did that just from a historical standpoint. Candidly, the real estate values in London are extreme, on a highly, very, very cost competitive basis. But we felt it was very important since Hard Rock has actually become part of the history of the city of London. I won't bore you with all the dates of Hard Rock globally expanding around the world. Probably the most important date is back in 2006, after the Seminole tribe pursued the purchase of Hard Rock, based upon the fact that there was a license agreement signed in order to brand two Class 2 facilities in the state of Florida. As we looked at that transaction, we honestly felt there was an opportunity to actually purchase the brand, and we pursued that for quite some time. I received the call on July 4th, 2006. Remember, it's not a holiday in London. Hard Rock was owned by Rank at the time. And frankly, we thought it was going to be just a great day and we could go enter into negotiations. But what happened was Rank decided to run a process, and there were over 72 bidders, excuse me, with some of the largest gaming, restaurant, hospitality companies, hotel companies in the world, including private equity. So we slowly were shortlisted and were able to announce the purchase on December 11th, 2006. And we closed on that transaction March of 2007. At the time, Peter Morton still owned the Hard Rock on Paradise here in Las Vegas. So we looked at that asset, and we certainly are very respectful and complimentary to the success that Peter had with the building. But very, very politely, we just didn't see the value in what the guidance that we were receiving from Wall Street, that this place was going to sell somewhere between 750 and 800 plus $1 million. So we elected not to purchase the Hard Rock Las Vegas at the time. That also did not, from our side, purchasing the brand, it did not include the rights for gaming west of the Mississippi. If you look at the tribe's history going back to 1979, we knew there was great opportunity, specifically when we look at gaming west of Mississippi, and a great percentage of it, frankly, has to do with Native American other tribes. We felt that was a great business opportunity for us. So we were finally able to acquire those rights from Brookfield in 2020. We then were asked if we wanted to once again purchase the facility. And I think similar to AG's opening comments, there's the strip. And obviously that is where the iconic locations of gaming are here in the city of Las Vegas. So we had been looking for different locations on the strip for quite some time. We were finally able to purchase the rights, as I mentioned, west of the Mississippi, and then purchase the rights back from Brookfield to get the Hard Rock brand under our control in Clark County. And we certainly worked with Juniper Capital as they did their transaction with Mohegan Sun, running the casino, and Virgin for the hotel. They initially came to us to do that transaction, but we elected not to move forward. And then this time last year in December, after looking at many different locations, we announced the purchase pending regulatory approval of the Mirage. If we look at this particular slide, I think it shows dramatically the increase in revenue that has occurred under the tribe's leadership. Frankly, when we look at the 2022 numbers, we should definitely exceed over 6 billion, so more than tripling the business of the company. When you really look at these numbers, and if you go back to 2007 and you back out the Hollywood and Tampa enterprise, which is the tribe, frankly, the growth is even more dramatic. We think it's always important. Hard Rock itself, but also its parent Seminole Gaming, enjoy investment grade ratings from Moody's, Standard & Poor's, and Fitch. This is a cash transaction. It has no financial contingencies, and we have wired the money that's already in place. And obviously, if we do obtain approval, it is our intention to close the transaction this Monday, the 19th. One of the things I think that's important, myself starting at the bottom of the industry back in 1979, is to make sure that we understand the significance and the importance of the employees. I'm always very delicate as I try to navigate through this. We're very respectful of private equity, owning a lot of the gaming companies today. But I think there's also something to be said about having ownership that truly understands from the ground up, whether it be our tribal members or myself personally, our management team, the significance of a long-term philosophy. If we look at private equity, obviously that is a philosophy of 3, 5, 7-year returns. Hard Rock, the tribe being around for the tribe, obviously hundreds of years, Hard Rock around over 50 years. We think it's important to have a long-term plan, and that is our 100% intention to utilize all the awards and acknowledgments that we have received for our programs with women, with diversity, best managed companies. Just real quickly, and obviously it was on the other video, but when JD Power and Associates acknowledged Hard Rock in its first year of eligibility to be ranked #1 in the category of upscale hotels. So nothing to do with our casino business. That was something that we're very, very proud of. And not only were we acknowledged the first time ever in the history of JD Power and Associates in any category, but now we've had that award for the first 3 years that we've been eligible. So it's something we think that's very important. In a couple of moments, I'll talk a little bit more about our programs on diversity, but as I mentioned, it's something very important to us. Hard Rock is a global brand. And very politely, when it was a licensed situation here in Las Vegas, we were not sending our customers here. When we look at the business that we control, in Florida alone, we've been tracking, there is over $700 million worth of business leaving the state of Florida, coming into primarily Las Vegas, but the state of Nevada. So now having a property of ownership, which we can direct our customers to, is something that's been part of the business plan for quite some time. But it's not just our customers in Florida. If you look at Hard Rock on a global basis, it is one of the most recognized brands in the world in any brand study you can find. And it'll be anywhere from being in the top 10, but certainly never less than the top 20 brands in the world. And I just give you a small example that's literally happening today. There's so much, PR and media about Leo Messi, and being a Sunday for the World Cup. Well, we have a direct relationship with Mr. Messi and for philanthropic efforts. And globally, we look to create those type of marketing arrangements. Clearly, as we do that, that's something we believe that brings more tourism to obviously an amazing city like Las Vegas and Nevada. Hard Rock was founded on, some mottos: love all, serve all, save the planet, all is one, and take time to be kind. And I recognize, having been in the business for over 40 years, every company has mission statements, has mottos, but I just submit to us as individuals. Wouldn't it be wonderful if the world, and specifically here in the United States, maybe we follow the Hard Rock mottos, right? If we could just be a little more gentler in our approach, because it is something that we should take time to be kind. We should care about the environment. We should love all, not just one particular category of individuals. And that's something Hard Rock has been talking about for many generations. As you look at these artists here in front of you, whether it be Rihanna or Pitbull or Shakira, or Jay-Z or Bruce Springsteen, the list goes on and on. We don't pay these artists. They actually partner with Hard Rock to do great things for other individuals. Last year, we had over 200 billion media impressions of the Hard Rock brand. That's not an internal statistic. That is obviously outside information where we use egg research to track this information. So it's truly one of the more global and iconic brands in the world. One of the things that we're just finishing up, it is probably in 95% of our locations, is unity. And once again, tying back to love all, serve all is one, unity. Let's all work together. Let's become unified. This is our global rewards program. And we're always very respectful and complimentary to the rewards programs that some of the other gaming companies, specifically Caesars, obviously has done a great job with that for many decades. MGM with M Life. But when we kind of joke about it a little bit in the industry, when you own your 10, 15, 20, 40 properties, that is one process, and that is a very difficult process. But when you have close to 300 locations in 70 countries around the world and trying to get all these licensees and franchisees to all come on one platform, it was a monumental task. We like to joke, we think some of the original deals that Peter and Isaac did were on the back of a napkin, trying to navigate through, but we've been successful with that. So that allows us now to bring all these customers, not just here to Las Vegas, but to all of our locations. But we certainly know, mirroring other programs, that Las Vegas is always one of the most desired attractions in many of these loyalty programs. And now we've launched that. We're very proud of it. I've mentioned philanthropic efforts. It is truly a who's who of celebrities from all walks of life, from all age groups. We're very proud of our history with Elvis and the Beatles, even prouder that the Rolling Stones, where they could have played anywhere in North America for their last stop, they decided to choose Hard Rock. That's important. But more importantly is today's artist and the culture of today's people and the diversity of that culture in order to make sure that we are involved with those particular genres of music. So I think, let's see if it comes up. I think now the video is going to be in the next section. Oh, no, it is coming up now. Okay. Hopefully, if we could just get some volume, that would be very nice.
Ladies and gentlemen, one
Little more
starts,
volume.
after all, with themes or rhythms or harmonies. You can't just start writing music out of nowhere, made up of nothing. It has to take a musical form.
Whatever it is, to try and channel it for good. That's the only point of doing anything.
It was lights out for some cities around the world in observance of Earth Hour. Here at home, the Guitar Hotel and the Seminole Hard Rock took place in the yearly observance with its own light display going dark.
Support Little Kids Rock. Support music teachers.
Hello, today I'll be singing a song. It's called Misty Weather. Aww.
You being here tonight is actually going to have an effect directly on families that have a child with cancer, and that's what this is all about tonight. This doesn't have anything to do with us.
Being that it's charity and it's for a great cause, I'm really, really happy that I'm collaborating with the Hard Rock.
I hope to really continue to make a difference.
Hard Rock has been so supported over the years.
Hi, I'm Brett Michaels, and we're here at the Hard Rock in Orlando to kick off Pinktober and to raise a lot of money and a lot of awareness for our fight against breast cancer.
$500,000, $10,000 each to 50 charities of Tampa Bay.
We couldn't miss this opportunity to do that community outreach.
You're truly changing lives every single day, and we're truly grateful and thank you for your partnership.
Hey, this is Trace Atkins, here to support Hard Rock's partnership with the American Red Cross.
He's Pete Townsend, I'm Roger Daltrey, and we're here for the City of Hope.
The proceeds that we collect from this go to the Make-A-Wish Foundation.
It turns out to have been the most profitable thing we've ever done to support Crossroads.
Realized that I can do more than just a song.
Any cause that helps people in need is one that we should all back up.
We are in Rejon in Guatemala as part of our work at Why Hunger and with Hard Rock International.
She's producing food and trees too. This is a way of self-sustaining the family.
We're here to help.
So I think what's very interesting about that video and our foundation, Hard Rock Heals, well, it certainly has a global footprint, but it actually starts locally. It'll start with local charities, and frankly, we've already started that process here. And then it goes from the municipality to county to state and then into the United States and globally. And it really becomes part of the culture of Hard Rock. And every employee goes through extensive training in this particular category to become involved. And as I mentioned earlier, all of those artists, not one of them were paid. They're volunteering their time to be involved with Hard Rock. We use this triangular relationship between celebrity, philanthropic efforts, the brand itself. I can assure you, if it was Jim Allen's company, all those celebrities are not going to come and donate their time. It is the power of the brand, and we think that's something that's very important. This slide, very quickly, I won't read all the different jurisdictions because I'm sure that's in the package that you've been provided, but it shows a history of us being involved in a regulatory environment, obviously on a global basis, being in front of many different gaming commissions and control boards in order to ensure that there is compliance and integrity in the business itself. And in a second here, I'll go through all of our compliance committee members, but we recognize the significance of this factor. And candidly, back in my career, 30 some years ago, I actually was involved with the state of New Jersey regarding the Casino Control Commission Act and how those regulations were written. The one thing I do want to mention, my apology at the bottom of slide 14. In 2014, the tribe's gaming operations, completely separate from Hard Rock, but actually were the first in the United States to be recognized as completely independent and being self-regulated. So this was something very monumental at the time. When I first met the tribe, actually what we did was we mirrored the Nevada and the New Jersey structure of gaming regulations. Gentleman named Ed Jenkins, who actually had been here in Las Vegas for many years. And eventually the tribe received that recognition, which is something I think that we're very proud of, and the first in the country to do so. These are the compliance committee members. I'm sure they'll be coming up in a couple moments. I think something that's very important. The first board member that was selected to Hard Rock International was Mr. Rumbles. And frankly, one of the major reasons of that, I'd worked with Mike in the past, back in the, I guess, late 80s, early 90s. But we wanted to start from day one to make sure that we had the commitment of compliance and integrity, through the board itself. And, these are all the different training programs that we utilize for something very similar. I'm sure you've seen with so many of your other applicants. But I do think that this slide, slide 17, for those following via WebEx, is very important because the board of Hard Rock International is completely independent of the Seminole Tribe's government operations. And we have submitted a recent tribal council resolution that was unanimously approved, acknowledging that. And the board reappoints itself. So as we look at, the business to make sure that we maintain that licensure, that exclusivity from the board, from the tribe, it's something that from day one. And people say, well, why was the structure created? Well, believe it or not, the biggest reason was if you look at all of the real estate around the world where we are tenants, the last thing that we need is the potential landlords or the existing landlords that we inherited say, well, how does this work with a sovereign nation if there's a legal dispute? So Hard Rock International, its parent company, Seminole Hard Rock Holdings, the two companies that do business as Seminole Hard Rock International, Seminole Hard Rock Entertainment, enjoy no sovereignty from the tribe. And frankly, as an applicant, we are no different than any other privately held or publicly traded company. There's no tie back to the tribe or its tribe's sovereignty. However, the board is required to be a majority, a minimum of 5 of members of the tribe. So the tribe, as the owner, certainly has knowledge of what's happening in the business itself. Diversity is something that is so important. And if we look at the last 5 years into this topic, there are so many companies that I think have made some great strides. And one of the things that was very important to me was not just to come out with a program, but to really spend time with the employees. So I went to David Carroll and I said, I want to create different groups, minimum of 12 to 14, and I personally want to meet with them, people of color, and specifically Black or African American as the first prong of the stool, if you will. And I want to understand, what do they look for from an employer? What's happening in their household? What's it like to be a single parent raising a child? How do you get to work? And we spent countless hours. And frankly, we revamped our whole, process to frankly be more inclusive, in these conversations. And I think the outcome of that, hopefully we have a slide here in a second. I'll come back to compulsive gaming in a second, but the slide should be here in a moment. If we look at our team management, I'm just going to keep us moving forward. That is the most diverse team management team in the industry. When you look at the people of color, you look at the number of females, you look to individuals of Asian descent, one member of the tribe. Keep in mind, the tribe itself is obviously, a large minority itself, with over 4,400 members of the tribe, and certainly the board is a majority of minority members being the tribe. But this is something that we are truly committed to, and more importantly, this is the group that all those recognition, national acknowledgments that we showed you earlier is so important to the success of the business. So I won't bore you with every individual slide, but I do want to talk a little bit about human trafficking. It's another area. When we look at this topic, unfortunately, in my own personal life, I'm a victim of this particular topic, so I know what it's like personally. If we look at this challenge internationally, or specifically with Native Americans in the United States, it's real. So the tribe and Hard Rock's commitment, to this particular category is something that really hits home. And once again, we've become a leader in this particular category and have actually worked with ECAT and developed a curriculum that now has been presented to over 740,000 students here in the United States, to not just be a victim, but to look out for that potential person who's trying to victimize you. And there's certainly a lot of work to be done there. And we're working now in our group with over 36,000 teachers. On a personal note, I should also let you know that I'm involved in a foundation where we work with teachers, with Stevie Van Sant, and it's called the Rock and Roll Forever Foundation, Bono, Bruce Springsteen, and others, where we also have a curriculum to get music into public schools so that we can help children have something to do. And I also was on the board of Little Kids Rock, where we actually give them instruments, create music classes, so that we can help children grow, obviously, their individual careers. Compulsive gaming is something very important. At the time, I think we were the first to actually have one of our property presidents on the board of a compulsive gaming council. At the time, everybody thought we were a little crazy. But frankly, being in the industry for so long, the old days of there's no clocks in casinos and all the different things of the 70s, 80s, and probably the early 90s, that's the past. The last thing we want is to see a guest, frankly, gamble too much, and our self-exclusion programs, like most companies, is something that we take very seriously. I think the difference between ourselves is, we've received many national awards, including the National Council on Problem Gambling, as far as our efforts in these particular programs. And as you can see, thousands of our employees have been trained. So you have everyone's background. They'll be in front of you in a moment, so I won't go through these slides. They can certainly speak for themselves. As far as the key management team, and many of these individuals are obviously not part of the licensing process, but there is a fundamental value that I have, and it's very simple. Having done it successfully in a similar and preferably an opening environment. But what supersedes that is honesty and integrity. And if you do not have honesty and integrity, and I humorously state, I've been in this business for a long time, I don't want to work with you. If you have a reputation where maybe it's a little bit shaky, then frankly, we're going to look in a different direction. We would rather have someone be promoted from within and make sure that they possess those qualities. And that's highlighted at a much higher level because we are employees of the owner being the Seminole Tribe of Florida. We don't have to go back too far. There's actually some cases out there today of tribes being taken advantage of. So making sure that we have the highest level of integrity as far as the management team is something that's very important. And as you look into these individuals' background, it's something I think you'll find we've achieved our goal. So I'll zoom through all these slides. How am I doing, AG? Am I moving quick here? I don't want to get the nudge here from the head lawyer, So I guess, one of the exciting parts of our presentation is obviously what are the plans for the Mirage. And, our business model is probably a little different than some other companies. And we're not suggesting ours is the right one. But we're not going to just put the brand on a facility and then change the carpet and put it in our rewards program and say, okay, come to Hard Rock Las Vegas. We had that opportunity countless times. And very politely, I've looked at so many different locations here in Nevada for quite some time. And when the opportunity to discuss the Mirage came about, actually Jim Yorn was still CEO of MGM Resorts, and we had talked about some land next to Circus. It was something that was very appealing to us. Number one, the size of the parcel. Number two, its location of basically the 50-yard line of the Las Vegas Strip. Number three, I'm sure as you're aware, happens to be the curve of the Strip. So the question is, can we create something iconic? And what we want to do with the Mirage is iconic. We don't want to just do some renovation. So the next couple slides will take you through. These are our architectural plans. We are working with local architects and designers. We obviously have been in front of the Clark County commissioners now for quite some time. And we want to build something that really takes the Mirage to the next level. We all know its history when it opened back in 1989, how it was the catalyst for the Las Vegas Strip to take the next step as an entertainment destination. We come here today, the name of the company is not Hard Rock Casino. The name of the company is Seminole Hard Rock Entertainment, because we look at our company as an entertainment company. And certainly this location is, we believe, the premier location on the Las Vegas Strip. So big picture, and I'll get to some pretty slides in a moment. Well, we're very, very respectful of the legacy of the volcano, but we recognize that as part of the Mirage of the past, and we will not be continuing to operate the volcano once we commence construction. And I will talk about a construction schedule in a moment. And in its place will be one of our designs, which we refer to as the guitar-shaped hotel. That will be a all suites hotel with its own entrance and frankly, its own casino areas, its own restaurants. It will connect to the main complex and specifically the main casino floor and all the entertainment aspects. The existing 3,000 rooms will not be renovated. Okay, and I'm being a little facetious. They will be gutted. There will be no glass in the building. So it's not a renovation just of some carpet and maybe, a little bit of money being put into the bathrooms. It is a complete gut of the building. This is a monumental step. And frankly, we looked at the building. We did all kinds of forensic studies on the building, everything from the risers to the horizontal risers to the vertical risers to the curtain wall itself. And we compliment MGM because the building really is in tremendous condition. And the curtain wall, which is always a problem in structures that are, approaching 35, 38 years old, but it's in good shape. But we want to be here for the next 20, 30, 40 years. So based upon that, our capital investment is to completely redo it. All the landscape, all the poolscape will be completely leveled and rebuilt, including all the flow of the pools. You're probably aware there's this amazing legacy of the Dolphins and the Tigers. and 2 Jaguars, which, you know, I always forget about the Jaguars. But that is part of the Mirage in the past. And our agreement of purchase is that we continue to work with MGM on a 50-50 basis to ensure the safety and the protection of these animals, and that they do not get placed into, for lack of better terms, a tourism attraction. You know, we want these animals, as MGM does, to live out their lives in an environment that is no longer the public gawking over them. We have multiple locations that we've been working for. We're not at the point of giving any specifics today, but I do think we're starting to narrow down. And the goal is to have these become really part of their natural environment, is where they end up. As we look at the meeting and group space, we will be adding a new roughly 45,000 square foot ballroom on top of the existing meeting space. The casino floor, the building is a little older. You know, it opened in December of 1989. It still enjoys catwalks. Those catwalks obviously take up a lot of the elevation in the building itself. As we all know, catwalks are no longer needed in the casino industry. So we actually have tremendous height on the casino floor. And once again, we complement Wynn Resorts, or back at the time, Mirage Resorts, because even the columns in the building were designed, frankly, state of the art. We do not have an issue with the grid. Basically, we're 60 feet or greater on our column grid, which is frankly the same thing you would be designing if you built new. So we will completely gut the casino floor down to the concrete, rebuild it, rebuild all of the front of the house areas, and then a renovation of the meeting and group space. We should end up around 200,000 square feet or so in the meeting and group space. I will tell you, we are going to keep the legendary villas. Certainly, it's one of the great icons of Las Vegas. It's really fascinating, the celebrities that still like to stay there. But they do need an upgrade with FF&E, but certainly not a complete gut. So this is just the program itself. You can see we approach around 3,700 rooms when we're done. We will have a major increase in the number of gaming positions, up to 2,000 slots, 212 table games, 283,000 square feet of meeting and group space. We will build a new Hard Rock Live. Hard Rock Live is really one of the components that allow us to do all these philanthropic efforts, because frankly, we book the artists, we work with them on charity, and obviously it then benefits others that are less fortunate. Number of food and beverage outlets right now, we're in that minimum 21 or so. That number could increase as we look at the retail component of the resort itself. So this is a picture of the building. I'm not going to tell you it's 100% to scale, but it's pretty darn close. We are obviously working with Clark County for our entitlements. The conversation with them has been the building will be somewhere between 600 and 700 feet. It's important for me to testify we've not been given those final approvals yet. We are in that process. So certainly based upon the height restrictions, and certainly we are respectful of the new requirements where your tower cranes are now part of that height conversation, which frankly, that was not the case in the past. We'll certainly comply, whatever that is. We recognize that's important. So we do have different versions of the tower in different height sizes. And as you can see there on the left, you can see the new blue glass in the building, and the building being recapped Hard Rock. This just gives you a little bit of a view from over at Harris, is where you'd be standing if you looked at that. And you see on that one particular level, that rooftop pool and landscape, that's a little less than 2 acres. And there's an infinity edge to that pool, where it'll be very similar to what Marina Bay Sands did over in Singapore, where you literally will feel as though you're swimming off the side of the building, but I assure you, we will not allow the guests to do that. And this is just a dead-on view from the Caesar side. Once again, a little bit more from over at Harris. And, so the design of the building has certainly progressed the last 8 months or so. There certainly has been some questions. When will all this start and when will it finish? So number one, it's important for us to, on the record, 100%, we are not closing the building. There seemed to be some confusion last week about that. There's no intention at this time to close the building. We certainly, like any company, we will look at the construction schedule. We will look at the economy, whether there is or is not a recession. And a year and a half from now or so probably would be the time frame when we would evaluate what makes the most sense. But I want to go on the record. There is no closure. The last thing that we want is for 3,500 employees to have uncertainty. And as a matter of fact, as I testified in the previous hearing, we've actually extended the Beatles Love Show. So candidly, we were a little disappointed where certain media said we're closing when we're doing the direct opposite. We clarified that, we sent out a statement, and that's where we stand. Our design and construction drawings should be done sometime next summer. Okay, probably in that July, maybe August period. At that time, it'll take 3 to 4 months to bid the drawings, or it is our goal to have over 90% completion in these drawings. Frankly, many casinos are built on a kind of as-built basis from start the process to a design build, a lot of allowances. One of the reasons why we have an investment grade rating, one of the reasons why we've never had to restructure any of our debt in any project is because we go through the process of very politely doing it the right way to make sure the design drawings are true construction drawings that are buildable. Once that's done, we'll look at those schedules. The actual construction schedule is somewhere around 30 months of actual schedule of construction. We certainly know that a lot of that can be done, in conjunction with the operations today. We'll have to look at those impacts as we select the contractor and then look at the time frame associated with that. Just to close up on a couple slides, there is a transition agreement with MGM, where they are going to continue to provide support to us for 120 days. However, our senior management team is in place, and we're probably approaching 200 employees or so that have been hired now for the areas of information technology, finance, human resources, purchasing, and other departments that were previously all operated under MGM's corporate structure, and those facilities and departments were just not in the building itself. And once again, to reiterate, the 3,600 employees, we're gladly embracing them, joining the Hard Rock family of over 50,000 employees. So as we close out, we talked about the animals. And then this is our corporate structure. I've kind of highlighted this a little bit earlier. The board sits completely separate from the tribal council. And as AG mentioned, there will be local officers, being myself, Joe Lupo, and Mr. Shore, and the Board of Managers are here in front of you today for any of your questions and presentation. Once again, the transaction is a cash transaction. This is Mr. Lupo, Joseph Corbo, who we had knowledge of back in our days working in Atlantic City, left MGM and worked with us. Frankly, MGM has been nothing but a pleasure to work with. They had certain employees that they were interested that were working at the Mirage. We certainly cooperated with them. And Joe actually came from their side to ours. Frank Casello, longtime industry veteran, and Jamie Stratton will be our Senior Vice President of Human Resources. So that is the abbreviated version. Hopefully I did not bore you. It's an amazing history on behalf of the Seminole Tribe and my personal ownership in the company. It's an honor to be here today, and I'm happy to address any questions of the business, or if you'd like, I can go into more comments on my personal background.
Well, thank you very much for the presentation. We appreciate it. Why don't I have my colleagues ask you any questions they may have about the presentation you just made before we get into the individual questions and comments and presentations.
Thank you so much for the concise presentation. I really enjoyed watching you in front of the board, and so much detail, leaving me personally with very few questions. I thought it was very comprehensive. The materials were very helpful, and I'm just really excited to have the presence here in Las Vegas for such a well-established company, the Seminole Tribe. It's exciting, I think, for Las Vegas, and it's a new and fresh perspective. Just some quick follow-up questions.
Sure.
Some things that were raised at the board, I just wanted to follow up. very impressed with your diversity program. I know you've hired Stephanie Pamuana for the officer position there. I think what she's doing there is excellent work. Very impressed with the Forbes magazine Best Employees for Diversity and the Top Employers for Women. I mean, these are all very fresh, recent honors, and I just think it would be important to put that on the record. I know you went through the presentation quickly, but those are things I really would like to highlight, and I'm very impressed with that work. I love that there's a commitment to put $100 million from the company to invest to increase the wages for 95 different job classifications, and the starting wage between $18 to $21 an hours. It's huge. It's huge for people. And so I want to commend you for the commitment that you're making. So just to be clear, the lease is a 55-year lease with Vici, is that correct? Ultimately with the options that are built in?
Yes, the structure works as follows. Obviously, when we entered into the transaction, simultaneously, there was a transaction between MGM Properties and Vici. So we basically said, we're happy to work with whoever on the existing dirt and the existing structure. Any of the improvements, we have the option to fund that ourselves, or we have the option to work with Vici, or frankly, any other REIT that is interested. I will tell you that we've been approached by 3 other REITs that would like to talk to us about it. But certainly we already have an existing relationship with Vici. So, we're certainly having those conversations.
Okay, and the initial term is a 25, and then you have the options for the 10 years, 3 in a row. Okay, good. And then I saw some information about the Athens, Greece development, and is that still set to open in 2026? Is that on track?
Yes.
Okay. And it wasn't clear in terms of the timeline, in terms of the Unity customer loyalty program. When is that being deployed, or has it been deployed?
It'll be deployed Monday. So when we take over, Unity will be available here for the Las Vegas property.
And that will replace the M Life rewards?
Yes.
Okay, and in terms of the transition of the existing M Life rewards, how is that going to work in terms of the interplay?
In the transaction, we negotiated dominant customers and semi-dominant customers. And MGM, depending upon the category, agreed not to market, and specifically the dominant customers, for 2 years. So we certainly recognize the significance of any database, and really, it's very important as we look at all of our locations domestically, but certainly internationally, to make sure that they are aware that, pending your approval, that we now are facilitating those rewards, and specifically at the Mirage here in Las Vegas.
Okay, and the Unity customer loyalty program, will that be international?
Yes.
Okay, and that was the platform you were talking about earlier in terms of taking time to get all of the different companies internationally and nationally in the US to be under one umbrella with the Unity program.
That is correct. I think we're like 94, 95%. So it was monumental.
And then, do you have any updates since the last hearing? I know it's very recent. I know that there was a court ruling with the Florida agreement relating to the violation of ICRA. What's going on there in terms of procedural posture? If you can just update me if there's anything.
Sure. First of all, it's very important for me to be respectful to the circuit court, but there were oral arguments on Wednesday of this week. As we review the media, and so we're not giving any direction, certainly we feel that our case was presented, the tribe's case, the state of Florida's case, and the Department of Interior. I think it's important to note that it's very, very rare that you have the federal government, the state government, and a sovereign government of the tribe all unilaterally locked together, believing in one particular position, and obviously working simultaneously together to defend the compact, which, frankly, was a very legendary document when we negotiated that. So we're hopeful that we'll receive direction sometime in the first quarter from the court, first quarter of 2023. We're also a realist. If we prevail, then we certainly are prepared that the plaintiff may appeal to the full circuit court, or potentially even to the Supreme Court, which they have the ability to do that.
Thank you so much for the update. And then for the record, I just wanted to be sure that the tribe was not originally sued in that litigation at the genesis point.
That is correct. We were not sued. And frankly, we asked to adjoin the case to make sure the tribe would have the appropriate representation because of how the compact affects the tribe on a long-term basis.
And did the tribe file an amicus brief or?
Initially, it did. Mr. Shore certainly can really get us into the
That's all.
minutiae.
I was very interested in that, and I'm happy to hear that the oral arguments occurred recently, and just impressive presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Can't wait to hear from everyone else. That's all I have for now. Thank you.
Commissioner Cohen?
Thank you, Chair. Well done. Well done presentation. Well done at the board level. Well done here. I just want to follow up on a couple points that Commissioner Brown raised. One regarding unity. So let's go to the nuts and bolts of the issue. A patron at 12:01 a.m. puts in their MGM card. That'll be inactive, I take it.
I'm going to defer to Mr. Lupo as far as 12:01. Where's Joe? Is that still the case? Yeah, 6:01.
Okay, 6:01. Right. Very good. Okay, so at 6:01, a patron who's gone to to the Mirage a number of years puts in their card. That card is now inactive.
Correct.
Will there be signage or available information to the patrons that they know, hey, you didn't lose your points, they're still being honored, through the MGM platform, but here's Unity and here's a card, the new card for you to use. I just want to make sure that the disruption is very minimal to the patrons.
So I don't know if we're going to get new cards in everyone's hands immediately, but certainly the signage and the communication, that answer is unequivocally yes. But the time it takes to get someone that's interested to be signed up is something that we're going to navigate through. The one thing I can tell you, and if we look at the amount of new casinos that have been built and opened in different states recently, very humbly, we have a lot of experience. So what we traditionally do is we'll literally take ballrooms, and we have these whole mobile systems of terminals coming in. If we see the volumes are so great, we'll be able to institute programs like that. And frankly, in Sacramento, we had to do that because the volume was so high. So certainly Mr. Lupo, once again, assuming he is approved, and our marketing team, Jeff Hook, is prepared for those different scenarios.
Very good. Just to touch on the EGRA, because I realize that's a very important case, not only to you, the state of Florida, but it has national implications, too. So was there any betting that was prohibited as a result of the litigation that's now on appeal? In other words, the I hate to say off-premise betting. Was there a stay of that?
Well, when we say off betting, are you referring to the smartphone someone?
Yes.
Okay. So maybe we should take a step back because I think it's very important. And once again, being very respectful to the media, but I'm not sure it's been properly articulated. First of all, we were never given a court order to stop our sports betting. We did that voluntarily. We made a decision at advice with our outside legal counsel that while we felt that we had legally the opportunity to still operate while the case was under appeal, we just felt it was the right thing to do. So that was number one. Number two, we only operated the sports book for 32 days, and it did include betting off of the sovereign land through a mobile device. But I think what's also very important, we actually mirrored other states such as New Jersey. And I think that is the one that is so significant. And as some of my peers, both on the land-based side of the gaming industry, but also, companies that are publicly traded that focus on iGaming and sports betting, when I explained to them, do you understand that if it is deemed that the bet does not occur at the server, whether it's in an Atlantic City casino or a predetermined pari-mutuel in any state, and there's 8 to 11 states, depending on how you read their individual state law, that this is going to have a major effect. And the reality is, if you look at it from just a security standpoint, you certainly want, from an integrity standpoint, to make sure that the servers are verifying the geofencing, verifying all the activity, not just say randomly, I place a bet here, standing at the local pub or mall. So I think as people have started to realize, I don't want to get in specifics, but we've had many of the major companies call us and say, we would like to work with you. Because now that we understand the case, it has a real impact on sports betting and iGaming throughout the United States, as the commissioner stated.
That's very important. And my last point, it could be addressed now, it could be addressed later, with some of the other people that are going to address us, is just the exception to the Board of Managers' rights and authorities. I just had some questions on that, so we can either address it now.
We could do it now if you like. Whatever you want to do, AJ.
Just chat about it now. Sure.
Very good. So just walk us through, because as you know, the commission of the board is very sensitive to what events would trigger the board of managers locally having to look to the tribe for decision making. And I know that is very much hands off for now, but there are triggering events which could result. I just want that on the record. Again, what were those triggering events and how the likelihood is that, they're not likely to occur, but they may occur.
Sure. So when the original operating agreement was created, and keep in mind that when the tribe purchased Hard Rock, there was a $500 million worth of public debt on the business. And in the operating agreement, it specifically states there will be an independent board of managers. However, that board, well, it enjoys the responsibility of complete control of day-to-day operations. It cannot perform the following task. And the first task is a leverage test, and I believe it's either 7 or 8, number one. Number two, it cannot sell the company. Number three, it cannot enter into an IPO of the company. And specifically, a sale of the company not only needs the approval of the tribal council, but it actually needs a majority of tribal members that are of age and eligible to vote.
I can't begin to tell you how I'm impressed with the presentation, your responses to the questions that have been raised, the people you've put together that are yet to address this. Even your counsel, who may not state anything today, but I see Mr. Casiello in the audience, who I have great respect for. So I'll pass to my fellow commissioners, and I thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Mr. Solosrini?
Thank you. I also wanted to echo the compliments on both your presentation today and also before the board. I think having the information at hand through your written materials and also through your presentation will help today flow a lot smoother because most of the questions were answered. I did want to follow up on a couple of items that have already been discussed because my question was maybe a tad different. With respect to the Unity, once that comes on board, once you open the property under the Hard Rock ownership and Unity comes into play, I assume that whatever M-Life points that customer has will not be able to be redeemed at the Hard Rock, but they'll still be able to be redeemed at all other MGM properties?
Correct.
With respect to the compact litigation, can you maybe just backtrack a little bit? I'm not very familiar with how it was initiated.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the plaintiff in that case?
The plaintiff is West Flagler Associates. Okay. They own 2 small pari-mutuels in the state, one being Miami Highlights, referred to as Casino Miami, and the other one a pari-mutuel in Bonita Springs, which is on the west coast of Florida in the Naples area itself. They are the plaintiff against the Department of Interior for signing and approving the compact.
Okay. I just wanted to be clear on that. It looked like you came in after the fact, which you explained, but I wasn't clear how it was initiated. So they challenged the compact provisions.
That's correct.
And then you asked to join the litigation.
That's correct.
Thank you. With respect to the compliance plan, you indicated you went through the materials. You have a 6-member compliance committee that is, I believe, at the parent level company.
There are compliance committees at the property level. And then there's also a corporate compliance committee.
Right, the 6 that we went through in the slide, that's your corporate
That's our
compliance
corporate,
committee.
correct.
Do you have also a property compliance committee already established for the Mirage?
That has not been created yet, but certainly that is part of our intentions.
The compliance plan that was submitted by the Mirage, prior to this transaction, has that been adopted by the company or have you submitted something else?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thanks for the question, Commissioner. What we have done is taken the current Hard Rock compliance program as it exists now and essentially amend it to meet Nevada standards so that upon close, it'll be up and running, incorporating operations for the Mirage along with all the other operations for the company. We have that plan right now in with the corporate securities unit. Ms. Brown is looking at it and she's reviewing it right now.
Okay.
We're just awaiting word on those amendments.
Different Miss Brown.
Different Miss Brown.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Not Commissioner Brown, but Pam Brown in corporate securities.
Perfect. Thank you. And then I just had a question regarding the governance. I understood from the material, I'm very fascinated in this. Has obviously nothing to do with the suitability, but you have the tribe and then you have the Section 17 corporation, I believe, that you created. Is
Section
is that called, is it called Section 17?
Are you talking about
Yeah.
the local Nevada entities or the Seminole Hard Rock Holdings?
The Seminole Hard Rock Holdings?
Yeah, that is a Virgin Islands LLC.
Okay, that's an LLC. The governance for that is what I was curious about. How are the member? I believe they were referred to as directors.
Board of Managers. And that is the same board that is being presented as far as this application.
Okay. Then there was another entity. It was an Inc. Let me.
Oh, Sem Tribe Inc. I think you're
Yes.
probably referring to.
I believe it
Right.
was referred to as a Section 17.
So that
corporation for
entity is on the tribal government side.
Okay.
I personally have no involvement with that whatsoever, and that's completely independent from all the Hard Rock assets and entities. Under the tribal government side, there is the tribal council, and that controls the constitution of the Seminole Tribe of Florida and its sovereignty and gaming. The tribe's 7 potential locations, 6 are operating in Florida, report up to the tribal council. Separately, there is an entity called Sem Tribe Inc., and that is more the business side of the tribe, and specifically some of their cattle operations, their citrus operations, gas stations, and other type of businesses that have no direct ties or affiliation with the gaming division of the Seminole Tribe, and certainly zero involvement with Hard Rock International.
Okay, so those, I believe there was 6 directors that were in charge of that.
There are 8 elected officials of the tribe, 5 individuals on the tribal council, but both the chair and the vice chair serve on the Sem Tribe Inc. board.
Okay.
So the chairman, Chairman Marcellus Osceola, who's actually with us this morning, he also serves as vice chair of the Sem Tribe Inc. board.
But that
And
has-
the vice chairman is president of Sem Tribe Inc.
Got it. Okay. So, and that entity doesn't have any involvement with gaming.
No, the only thing I'll state, so I don't misrepresent anything, at times, the gaming division has done business transactions with Sem Tribe Inc., specifically like the orange juice in the cafeteria and our restaurants. We're very proud to tell our employees and guests that the orange juice actually comes from, groves that the tribe either controls or owns.
Perfect. No, I was very, very impressed with just the amount of different industries that the tribe is involved with, I think.
And tobacco is also a major part of the Sem Tribe Inc. business model.
Thank you.
So can I, before you leave the topic of compliance, just to follow up on a question that was asked by my fellow commissioner. So you have individual property compliance programs and staff per property. And then, so maybe 21 and 22 was a rough year in New Jersey, but here you don't have a, you don't have a plan for that yet. You're in the process of that plan.
In the process. But what I would say is to clarify,
Can I interrupt you just for a second? What's
my
the
apology, Madam Chair.
what's the ETA on that?
That I don't know. Nick, do you have a, or AG?
Is this in regards to the compliance plan that has been
For this
submitted to the
property.
board?
For this property?
Yeah,
I'm hearing
ASAP.
individual properties have their
Right.
individual,
My
team of-
understanding, Madam Chair, is that each property has its compliance operations and staff that report up to the overall compliance committee, which Mr. Allen has just described in his deck. That will be the large overseeing committee for everything. We're just going to roll the Mirage operations into that. On our end, we're ready to go on that. We submitted the plan with proposed amendments, and they were very minor amendments just to incorporate required Nevada changes. That's in with staff right now, just awaiting approval. Once we intend to operate under the existing plan upon approval by the commission. The amendments, once we receive them, we'll incorporate them and continue to be up and running. So the committee members that Mr. Allen pointed out, same committee members overseeing Mirage.
Okay.
So as seamless as possible.
Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted
Yeah.
to.
I hope that answers the question.
Mr. Burnett, that actually raised another question in my mind. I understood that, yes, while the corporate compliance committee is going to be overseeing the local compliance group, if you will, that the local compliance committee has not been established.
Not at this point.
No, there is no local compliance committee.
Okay.
For the property, if that's what you're referring to.
Okay.
Um,
Our materials
could
referred to a
clarify.
3-member, bear with me for just 1 second. Our materials referred to a 3-member committee, so I thought that was a local committee that would report up to the 6-member committee that you've described in your materials. Is that not the case?
I'm not sure. I don't know about that. I haven't heard of a 3-member committee.
I think
Mr.
they're the
Nick
local
Castillo.
operating.
Hi, Nick Castillo, Fox Rothschild.
Hi.
The only Hard Rock property that has a local compliance committee is an entity that is not wholly owned by Hard Rock. And because of the participation of minority partners, a separate committee was created. But in any event, that committee and its actions ultimately report up to the corporate compliance committee that resides at Seminole HR Holdings LLC. So for Las Vegas, the intent, as is true with all the other properties except the one I just referred to, which is Atlantic City, will not have a separate compliance committee. It will have a compliance staff, and that compliance staff will follow the corporate compliance committee. And when that corporate compliance committee meets quarterly or more often, all the material goes up to the top.
Okay. Thank you. That was a little bit different than I understood it, so I just wanted to confirm. In looking at the list that we were provided of the different violations the company has had, obviously a lot of them are very routine. They're human errors that are going to happen, I think, in many instances. But there was one that was in Ohio. It looks like the date closed was March of 2022. That was with the violation. Nature of the violation was failure to timely file and pay gross casino revenue and failure to timely perform daily collection or counts. That seemed a little bit more of a process problem than just a typical, somebody didn't sign a fill slip. Can you maybe tell me a little bit more about that?
Mike, do you want to, where's Mike? Mike is the chair of the compliance committee. He may recall the case more specifically.
Well, that may be a test of my memory, because we do look at reports from every single property every quarter. As I recall, there were some violations in Ohio that were procedural on the floor, and there were some that were corporate or property driven. So the heads of the property had not necessarily filed everything on time. We looked at all of that. One of the things that we do is send information back to the property about the concerns that the compliance committee has, and we then put them on watch. And we watch what they do for the next several quarters to make sure that they're still in compliance. And so it's really a matter of us elevating the concern that we have as a corporation down to the property level and make sure that they're aware that we're going to keep an eye on it.
Okay, that, obviously that's something that's near and dear to any revenue generating or any regulatory agency that's overseeing the collection of tax revenue. I guess I don't still fully understand, and I apologize because I'm sure you consider a lot of different transactions. This one involved a significant fine. Was it that they didn't file on time or that they just didn't file at all?
Was this a recent?
It shows that it was the date of the violation was March 18th, and that's the same close date we were provided
Okay, and
in
does
Ohio.
does it indicate the filing that they failed to make?
You have
It said-
you have someone behind you who'd like to contribute to this
Ah,
conversation.
somebody who really knows the answer.
Yeah, it said gross casino revenue tax.
If I may,
General counsel.
It was a $125,000 fine. That's the one she's referring to.
that's
Yeah,
right, Mike. You may
That helps.
recall that.
I was thinking about the late filing.
Could you please
Okay.
identify yourself for the court reporter?
I'm
I'm
on it.
sorry.
I
Good morning.
promise.
My name is Ilkim Hinster. I'm the EVP and CLO of Hard Rock International. And this matter was discussed certainly at the compliance committee level. The fine did have a direct relation to a couple of failures. The failures included lack of communication with the OCCC. That was something that
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the lack of
I'm sorry,
communication.
lack of communication with the OCCC, with the regulator in Ohio, was a part of the problem that we became aware of, and we've since remedied. Essentially, there were delays in filing the exact number with the with the regulator, the exact revenue amount that we are required to file under local legislation, and the commission had some concerns about some of the communication efforts with the staff at the time that was in charge of those filings. And when we looked deeply into this, we discovered that there was unfortunately some failures by the folks that were actually responsible for this. And we have since remedied that. Those folks have been either removed from the operation, from the business, or they have been folks that have not been removed from the operation have adopted led by the compliance committee, enhanced protocols to make sure that if the OCCC is knocking on your door, you respond to the OCCC on a timely basis. But the underlying issue with respect to the filing was that estimated amounts were submitted to the OCCC, not exact amounts that should have been submitted to the OCCC within a certain time frame. The certain time frame was in some cases missed by a few hours. In other cases, it was missed by a few days. And the payment, in fact, was an overpayment. The payment was not an underpayment. The state was never underpaid under the circumstances. And unfortunately, the timing, the lack of communication was something that was not appropriate. It was not something that should have ever happened. And we looked into this. We have adopted remedial measures. We have again, changed staff from at the location as well to deal with this, to make sure it doesn't happen again. And ultimately, we had very robust conversations with the regulator, and sincerely also apologize for the lack of communication. And we believe we have remedied that situation as well. The settlement agreement was something that we negotiated as one does with the regulator to make sure that it was to their satisfaction as well.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Again, that's the only one that stood out to me as maybe being process related instead of just a simple error. The process of submitting your gross revenue tax filing should be very streamlined. I mean, it's something generally that happens, at least in Nevada, it happens every month. The numbers by then are firmed up, so I was concerned about that. But thank you for or confirming that you've addressed remedial measures. I didn't have any further questions with respect to compliance. I did have one final question with respect to employees. I understand you're retaining all of the Mirage employees and maybe trying to add a few more. As I understand it, those employees are going to maintain their current level of pay and their current benefits, seniority and such. I just wanted to confirm that
Yes.
on the record. Okay.
And we have had meetings and we signed neutrality agreements at the national level with United here and specifically with Detailer.
Okay. I don't have any further questions. Again, thank you so much for not only your presentation today, but also just all the efforts that you're making on behalf of a lot of very worthy causes that you're touching. human trafficking being one of them, the diversity efforts, and all of the kids programs. That's something that I am looking forward to seeing what you do in Las Vegas with regards to those efforts, because it takes a village, and your efforts in that regard are something that I think the community could very much benefit from.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
I would echo the comments of my colleagues. I mean, great presentation, and it makes our job so much easier when it's so thorough. And you've answered the questions that I really had about some of the information in our investigation materials. 600 feet, 700 feet, whatever it ends up to be, those are the drawings of the building is going to be very cool.
Thank you.
Very cool. I really love it. So anyway, I don't have anything else on that. I think we should go to individuals unless there's some follow-up. Okay. Want to talk about yourself personally?
Sure. Mr. Allen can go first.
Sure.
Again, happy to do
You might be
abbreviated
tired.
presentations or the
No,
whole
I'm
thing.
fine. Let me ask our court reporter. Are you okay?
Okay. Jim will go first.
But once again, thank you for allowing me to present. James Allen, for the record, Chairman, CEO of Hard Rock International and CEO of Seminole Gaming. Very similar to the Seminole tribe, I started my career in the first couple of weeks of December in 1979. I always find that, very amazing from a spiritual standpoint, how we both started. Our paths have come together now for over 22 years. I've been working with the tribe. My background, unfortunately, my parents had some rough times financially. Really economically, it was nothing short of a disaster. Lost their home, lost their businesses. Just when we thought it really couldn't get any worse, unfortunately, my father passed away very suddenly of cancer at 48 years old. So it's kind of when I determined that, I don't want to be in this environment. And at the time, I think I was working 2 jobs, but continued to really pursue to make sure that I was not in the same economic situation that they were. And candidly, it was not that there was a lack of work or commitment. It was just, unfortunately, the businesses failed. So I was working at a particular restaurant in South Jersey, and casino gaming became legalized in Atlantic City. And I was very young at the time, obviously. They hired, frankly, what the casinos did, it was Caesars, Bally, and Resorts. They were the first 3. They all opened within 8 months or so of each other, maybe a year. They hired the executive chef, and he very fortunately for me said, "You should take this kid. He's a hard worker." And that's how I went to work at Bally's Park Place, originally in the food and beverage and culinary department. They being the New Jersey Casino Control Commission, a program to make sure there is the advancement of minorities and females. So Bally, Park Place technically was the name of the company at the time. This is before they owned Caesars. They created an upward mobility program where every employee was eligible. I was the only white male chosen. So at the time, I guess, that was something that certainly was recognized from the senior leaders of the company. And I was fortunate then to be put into this upward mobility training program. And really, my career advanced. And because of my work ethic, when I was asked to leave the culinary department and go into a position called menu analyst and food and beverage accounting, frankly, the executive chef said, "No, I don't want him to leave." And I said, "Fine, I'll just work both jobs." So I literally was working in excess of 80 hours a week. But what I was able to do was I was the captain, if you will, between the culinary department, the data processing department, that's what it used to be called back then, showing my age, and accounting, to create this inventory purchasing point of sale system, which eventually in over 80% of the hotels, casinos in the United States utilized the system. It was written by a gentleman by the name of Andy Anderson. It's called the Peachtree System. No one really thought it could work, but we got it to work, and that frankly then led for Hilton Hotels to seek me out. They came in and they wanted to know who I was. I showed them the system. They offered me a position in their new Atlantic City Hilton, which they were building at the time. It was the most expensive Hilton ever built. I guess unbeknownst to all of us, Hilton Hotels was not licensable, so they were denied a license. I was hired by Hilton. Bowie did ask me to stay, but I took the position in purchasing at Hilton. Um, Hilton was not licensable, I guess, about 3 weeks or so prior to the facility opening in June of 1985. I was brought into a room with about, I think, 16 or so other people, said, "You have a key license." So I received my first key in Atlantic City. You're no longer going to be working for Hilton. You're going to be working for the Trump Organization for 6 months because we're going to announce that they are taking over the property. I worked those 6 months. Hilton offered me a corporate position in Beverly Hills. At the time, the Trump Organization was a much different company than what's out there today in the world, and I clearly won't get into all those conversations. And they confided in me that they were going to be buying out Harris, and they had a plan to expand very aggressively in real estate, hotels, and in casinos. I saw that as an opportunity on a smaller pond, if you will, versus Hilton, even though I was offered a position in Beverly Hills. I took the position. I worked for the Trump Organization during the very good years, and there actually was some really good years in 86, 87, 88, 89. There was a real tragedy back October 10th, 1989, where there was a helicopter crash, and basically the whole management team got wiped out. I stayed for the tough years, then went to work for Chris Hemmeter. Chris was a legendary developer, did a lot of the big resorts in Hawaii. He controlled casinos in Colorado, where I was hired as the general manager. They were smaller casinos, but I was able to quadruple the EBITDA of the company. I was then asked to assist in the New Orleans operations, which I think any of us that have been around for a while know New Orleans really had some challenges with all the gaming companies when that market first came into the general public utilization. After I left Hemmeter, I went to work for Saul Kersner, a company called Sun International. They had the rights to do the casino and create Mohegan Sun in Uncasville, Connecticut. At the time, that was the largest casino in the world ever built. Phase one did not include the hotel, but the gaming floor and the amount of restaurants and entertainment was second to none. The property was a huge success from the start. I led the design process there. Got to know Mr. Kersner personally. He then moved me to Atlantis and then moved me into a corporate position where all the Sun International assets, I was senior vice president of worldwide property operations. I found out about this tribe in Florida, named the Seminole Tribe, that they had a casino, heard about these two Hard Rock projects. Candidly, I didn't understand the difference between Class 2 and Class 3 gaming at the time, but I certainly knew their success. And believe me, the tribe was very, very successful before they met me. And I knew the opportunity that if we could get the integrity of the major gaming manufacturers in Class 2, specifically at the time, IGT, Bally, Sigma, some of the major companies, AC Coin and Slot, none of those companies were doing any business in Class 2. And very candidly, there was a bunch of white guys running around taking 30, 40% of the revenue from these tribes with games that did not have integrity. So we brought GLOI, specifically James Maida, in. We looked at all the gaming devices, and we were the first, not just in the country, but in the world, to create these games, which led to the whole explosion of Class 2, utilizing Class 3 titles, specifically games like Red, White, and Blue, Double Diamond, and all the major titles. We negotiated with a company named Sierra Design, led by Bob Luciani, to utilize those titles in a Class 2 environment. It's very humbling to say that it was very successful. I think the success of that helped bridge the relationship with the state of Florida. We started with Governor Bush, then Governor Christ. It's very important to note the tribe had been working for many years, Governor Childs, et cetera, for a compact. We were able to get that done, the first one, I guess, back in 2007. We then, for class 3 slot machines only, we then added table games. Then obviously today, that led us to purchase Hard Rock on a global basis. And that really came down to not that Hard Rock was bad, it's just that we were such a major contributor to the profitability of Hard Rock. Rather than pay them a license fee, the mindset was, why not pay ourselves? So we presented that to the tribal council and Mr. Shore. And as I mentioned earlier, we were able to conclude that transaction. And that is 42 years in the gaming industry in about 2 or 3 minutes. So recently married to the best person in the world. Sorry. And unfortunately, I have a workaholic problem, but we love to do it. And it's been an honor to work for the tribe. And it's an honor to present today.
Well, thank you very much for that. I don't have any questions about your background, but I will think it's support your application, personal application. But I'm going to open it up to whoever would like to start.
Thank you for your personal presentation. I'm honored to sit here to receive it. You are such a success story. You came from nothing and you built your way up. And I think there's no substitute for hard work and tenacity, and you're a role model. So it's touching.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Cohen.
I have absolutely nothing to add.
Thank you, Commissioner Gomez.
Thank you. Other than echoing Commissioner Brown's comments, I have nothing to add as well. I mean, your background is impressive. You've built quite a legacy for yourself.
Thank you.
I'm sure you have a lot more to come. So I look forward to it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, thank you, members of the commission.
Jim. Madam Chair, next,
You need my glasses.
we'll ask Mr. Jim Shore to step forward.
Good morning, Mr. Shore. Thank you for being here today.
Morning.
We'd be happy for you to make we have all of us reviewed either the transcript or the video or both of the meeting before the board. And we are happy to have an abbreviated introduction to our group, and then I'll open it up to any questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the commission. If Jim Allen was brief, mine will even be briefer. So I'll start to say that my name is Jim Shore, and I've been a general counsel for the Seminole Tribe of Florida for 40 years or so. And I think even though I've been around this long, my life is pretty simple in that I started school on a Seminole reservation back in early 50s or late 40s. And they called it Indian Day School. Then eventually it was shut down and we were moved to Okeechobee Public School System and stayed there until I graduated in 1963 and did various things in the neighborhood at the reservation, in the country, horses, sports, and so forth. But after graduating from high school, I went to another Bureau of Indian Affairs school in Lawrence, Kansas, a vocational school, and I took auto mechanics or something in the automobile field. And that was a 2-year school, and I came back to the reservation by around 65 or 66. And I think I hung around there, drove a truck, did a few odd things, and did a little bit of cowboying. And then I think it was in 1970 when I had an automobile accident that took care of the sight that I had at that time. And I think I was laid up for about 3 years. Not that it was that, I mean, it was bad, but not anything else. But the doctors don't want to tell you there's no hope. They just keep dragging you around. And eventually I figured out I better be doing something. And then that's when I started my junior college career in 1973. And I went to school full time for 7 years and graduated from law school in 1980. And my junior college was North Florida Junior College in Madison, Florida. Then I went to DeLand University, Stetson University in DeLand. After that, I went to Stetson College of Law over in St. Pete area called Gulfport. And after graduation and got my Florida bar exam passed and admitted to the Florida bar in early 1980s, the tribe took me on as a staff attorney. And then around 83 or 84, they appointed me as the general counsel for the Seminole Tribe of Florida. And I've been there ever since. And the tribe has made a few accomplishments in our time. We have a compact with the state of Florida on water issue and on the gaming. And we have some understanding with the University of FSU on the use of the Seminole name as their mascot. And after that, we've gone into other things, and I think if the commission permits, the acquisition of Mirage will be one of the items that will rank high on the tribe's acquisition of business going in the future. And I think if you ask the famous 8 out of 10 John Doe tribal members on the reservation, they will probably tell you that they're glad that the tribe bought the Mirage casinos going forward. And I think at this point, there's no telling what else the tribe will be doing. All we hear of Las Vegas is on TV somewhere in these crime stories and all the nightlife. And now we're going to be right in the middle of it. So that makes the tribe proud of what they've accomplished so far. So with that, if you have any questions, I can try to answer them.
Mr. Short, I don't have any questions. I just wanted to say that you are an inspiration, and I'm sure you have inspired all of your young tribal members to accomplish great things with incredible obstacles in front of you. So thank you for doing that, and thanks for all of your hard work and leading the Seminoles into what currently is it's an amazing business legacy and all the good things you're doing with it. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Shore, this is Commissioner Brown. Thank you so much for coming today. I really enjoyed your presentation before the board and your presentation here today. Did I understand correctly that you were the first member of the Seminole tribe to go to law school?
Yes.
I just wanted to commend you on that accomplishment and to echo my fellow commissioners' statements. You are truly inspirational. And when I have the honor of listening to your presentation, I know in life there are absolutely no excuses because I've had the pleasure of hearing from you, and I really appreciate what you've done to lift yourself up and to contribute, and to have that kind of an accomplishment, to be the first member of the tribe to go to law school is truly impressive, and I echo the sentiment, inspirational. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Mr. Short, Steve Cohen, I echo the comments of my fellow commissioners. You're an inspiration to us all. You have a wonderfully, clean application, and I fully support you today.
And one final thing, I just wanted to congratulate you. I believe you were inducted to the Gaming Hall of Fame 2 years ago. Is that correct? Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's a huge accomplishment.
Yeah, thank you.
Sir, I don't have any additional questions. I echo all the comments that have been made today. Thank you very much for your patience and appearance and introduction. We very much appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner, thank you for acknowledging Mr. Shore going into the Gaming Hall of Fame. I'm chairman of AGA. Just want to go on the record. Mr. Shore was appointed to the Hall of Fame before I became chairman, and truly a legend in the industry. And I'm probably in trouble for saying this, but thank you for mentioning it.
Next would be Miss Agnes Billy Motlow.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm very happy to be here today. Himatagit ilanchi ay awut mo chinhichi hompek tagaski shilanchik so yolichik ilashkacha anglamiete. I just said that in my language. Greetings. I bring you the happiness of the Seminole Tribe of Florida, proud group of people that live in the swamplands of the southern part of Florida. And as I said, my name is Agnes Billy Matlow. I'm a member of the Seminole Tribe of Florida, and I have worked for the Seminole Tribe for over 50 years. And I've worked in the legal department since 1989. I went to Indian boarding schools for high school, and then I attended Stetson University for a year. And then in my later years, I attained my BA and my master's degree in administration at Barry University, Miami Shores, Florida. And I've been a member of the board of managers since 2011. If you have any questions or anything?
I had just a couple questions regarding the tribe. You have 6 reservations, I understand?
Yes, we have 7, actually.
Oh, 7?
Yes.
Okay. What's the split of the population amongst the 7?
Hollywood Reservation, which is the more closer to the cities in Broward County, that has over 800 people. And then Brighton, I believe, might be the next reservation, which is a large reservation, but it's located in a smaller county, Glades County, and I believe Okeechobee County. But Glades. These people are from Brighton, and then we have several other reservations. One in Fort Pierce, and we have Immokalee, Big Cypress, which is in Hinder County. This is mostly all swampland. Naples, and let me think, small one in Tampa.
And you have approximately 4,400 members?
Yes.
Is that 4,400 members that live on the reservations, or 4,500 members?
Total.
Oh, that is total?
Yes, I think the majority of our people live on the reservations, but we do have young people that travel away, go to school, start families and things they're the non-residents that live in various states, different parts of Florida.
And I should have said this first. This has nothing to do with your personal background, which was incredibly impressive. You've been employed with the Seminoles tribe for so long that I knew you would have the answers that I was looking for. Thank you so much.
I don't have any questions. I support your application, and so therefore I'm going to pass it to my colleagues if they have anything.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, did you have anything else?
Sorry.
I have no questions. Thank you very much for your presentation.
I can't let you leave without saying your skirt is absolutely stunning. It's sunshine in the room. Thank you.
Okay, I'm being asked to take a comfort break, so we're going to do that for just, let's say, to come back at 11.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, we're back online and, oh, sorry. We're back online and ready to start after the break. So thank you for your patience. I think we just need to call up your, is it Carla Gopher?
Carla Susan Gopher, yes.
Good morning, Madam Chairman and members of the commission. My name is Carla Gopher. I am a member of the Seminole Tribe of Florida. I live on the Brighton Seminole Reservation in Glades County, Florida. I've been a member of the Board of Managers since March of 2011. Just some educational background and work history for me. I graduated from Florida State University in 1996 with a bachelor's in business management. Later went back to school and graduated with a MBA from University of Tampa in 2005. After graduating from Florida State University, I went to work at the time it was Seminole Casino Tampa. It's now Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino Tampa. But I started there in 1997. I worked in the gaming industry for the Seminole Tribe 20 years. Midway through my career there, I transferred to Seminole Casino Brighton. I retired from that casino as director of finance in 2017. Took a few months off, and then I went back to work, where I'm currently still working in a administrative position for the Seminole Tribe governmental side. I work there at the local Brighton Reservation in our administrative office. And that's a quick introduction. If you have any questions.
Thank you. I'll open it up.
Welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I did have a question, Ms. Gopher, about your interest in 7W Cattle LLC.
Yes.
I understand there are 186 cattle in your cattle ranch business. Could you tell me about that and how much of your time you devote to that? And I think Rita Gopher owns that with you.
Yes, my sister and I own it 50-50. We inherited it from my mother, which she inherited from her father. So since 2016, my sister and I have been operating it. It's like 160 to 180 head of cattle. It's just a local operation. Day to day is mainly just, making yourself present with the cattle, maintaining fence lines, couple times a year we have to do major, cattle work days. But, day to day, it's just out there maintaining the cattle, the pasture land and the fence lines.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I have no further questions. I have no areas of concern.
No areas of concern. Thank you.
Thank you.
I didn't have any areas of concern either. Your background is very clean. Thank you.
Yes, I support your application as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Next would be Brad Buchanan.
Morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Madam Chair and the commission members. Thank you for entertaining us today in our applications. My name is Brad Buchanan. I've been on the Board of Managers for Seminole HR Holdings LLC and its affiliates since August of 2020. Since that time, I also have served as chair of the audit committee. Prior to my retirement in May of 2015, I served as executive vice president, chief financial officer, and secretary of Seminole HR Holdings LLC and its affiliates. From January of 2007, when we were going through the acquisition of Hard Rock International, until, like I said, May of 2015. At the same time, I served as executive vice president, chief financial officer, and chief financial officer for Seminole Gaming from June of 2002 until May of 2015. Post May of 2015, I've acted as plan administrator for two retirement plans for Seminole Gaming. Let's see, over 35 years of experience in the travel, leisure, gaming business, mostly in financial and accounting areas. I started in the business right out of college in June of let's see, when did I graduate? 1982, June of 1982. Worked for many gaming companies, starting with the Golden Nugget in Atlantic City in the audit department.
I went to graduate school at night and received an MBA with a concentration in finance from Monmouth College in 1985. Sorry, I'm in trouble with my dates today. I served in gaming companies and different jurisdictions with the Pratt Hotel Corporation in Atlantic City, the Atlantis Resort Casino in the Bahamas, Sahara Gaming Corporation here in Nevada, Capital Gaming International, and spent some time with Trump Atlantic City Properties. I currently live in Miami, Florida. I have a second house in Ocean City, New Jersey. I'm a certified public accountant in the state of Pennsylvania. That license is inactive as I do not practice public accounting in Pennsylvania or any other state. So, questions?
Thank you.
Go ahead. Oh, thank you. Were you a lacrosse player?
No, I wasn't.
Okay, I was just curious how a lacrosse ball.
I'll tell you.
I'm curious. It's not an area of concern. I just thought, okay, well, was he playing and somebody ducked?
I was a baseball player,
Okay.
and a lacrosse ball is heavier than a baseball, and you use it to strengthen your arm by throwing the heavier ball.
Smart. And you missed and you hit the window.
I missed.
I'm a klutz, so I can see that happening. How do you split your time between New Jersey and Miami?
I spent about 3 months a year in New Jersey and 9 months in Miami.
You have an impressive background. I have no areas of concern. Thank you for your time.
After hearing about the lacrosse, and now I do have areas of concern. No, no, I have no areas of concern. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I was curious how much of a time commitment it was to do for your current position as plan administrator.
The original plan was pretty simple, and maybe 10 hours a week. It's now evolved into 2 plans, so it's still a part-time job. Maybe 20 hours a month, something like that. But that's really it.
So you're getting to enjoy a little bit of retirement.
Yes.
Hopefully without lacrosse balls.
Without lacrosse balls.
Okay. I didn't have any areas of concern. I mean, your background is clean. The items that were presented, are minor. So
Thank you, Commissioner.
thank you.
I don't have any questions. I thank you for your appearance today, and I know the whole thing about retiring never really happens, does it?
I think I flunked.
Me too.
Flunking well.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam.
Next would be Connie Johns Whidden.
Good morning.
Morning, Chair and Commissioners. I do have to say a little bit in my language since Agnes did, but I want to say that there's 2 languages spoken within the Seminole Tribe of Florida, the Creek and the Miccosukee. Agnes speaks the Miccosukee language, and most of the people that live on the Brighton Reservation speak the Creek, and then there are a few that speaks English and both the Indian language. But I've been told that less than 30 people speak our Creek language now. And so it's very important that we teach our children. So I went back to work 2 days a week at the immersion school on the reservation to help out with teaching our language. So I retired, went back to work too. But as it was stated, my name is Connie Johns Whidden. I was raised on the Bright Indian Reservation. I went to school at the local public school in Okeechobee. At the time that I was growing up, a lot of the kids, for whatever reason, seemed to be going off to an Indian boarding school in the western states. But I was fortunate enough that I had an aunt that took me in when my mother died and raised me. And so I stayed on the reservation and went to the local school and graduated and got married, had a couple of kids, went to work for the Seminole Tribe. And I worked there as their kind of came up through the ranks. I was their outreach worker for the social service program, and then eventually became the director for social service. And I went to school at Berry and got my 4-year degree. And so I was there with the Seminole Tribe as a social service director. And we had a chance to get some monies from the federal government with the Indian Child Welfare program, but they kept saying, well, to get those monies, you have to have somebody on your staff that has a master's in social work. And back then it was hard to find anybody, especially when you're 25, 30 miles from your nearest town. So I thought, well, I'll go back to school and get my master's. I live on the reservation. I'm a member of the tribe. I'll never go anywhere. I'll be there with a master's for any grants coming up. So I went back to school and got my degree in, or my master's in social work. And I wanted to work as a therapist with the youth, but the chairman at the time said, can you run the health department for me? I said, yeah, I guess I can, but I won't, since I said, I don't want to move to Hollywood. I want to be located in Brighton. So if I can have a chauffeur and a car to drive me back and forth, I'll come to work for you. He laughed. He said, you know, that's not going to happen. I said, I know that, but I thought I'd try anyway. So I was there for 23 years. And then my immediate director said, sorry, we're going in a different direction. You're out of here. I said, okay. So I didn't do anything. By then, my husband was really sick, so I stayed home with him until he passed away. And then I thought, well, I need to do something. So I went back to work at the school. And so let me say, Estongo, Majanta na lagit, nagaftit pulagad and aja pachkitos, hayuan hinten, I bigate jackson, bimo isti madut gifuliada githajan a be this course, mado. I said, thank you for letting us meet with y'all, and I hope that y'all will see to give us what we need so that we can continue to do well for our people.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Thank you very much for that presentation. And I will go ahead and open it up to Commissioner Solitz Rainey first.
Thank you, Ms. Wyden, for being here.
Whidden.
I'm sorry, for being here. We appreciate your presentation. And I understand you went to high school with Mr. Shore.
Yes.
And he was
yes.
a rabble rouser.
Yes, he was.
Tell us more about that. I'm sure it was nothing, but I got a kick out of that during your earlier presentation. And I love the story that you gave us about how you came about your title as a Creek language specialist.
Oh, yeah.
Grandma Connie sounds so much better.
I didn't share it well. I was telling my daughter, I said, I'm going to put down Bushy Connie, which means Grandma Connie. I said, I need to have a title for when I do my presentation. And I said, and that's how I feel. I'm a grandmother. So, so I was telling my daughter, I said, this is what I'm going to put. She said, oh, no, don't put that. You're going to be meeting people up there. And she said, give me a few days and I'll give you something. I said, okay. So she come back with, she said, how about Creek language specialist? I said, oh, I guess that'll do. So that's how I came about with the title.
You look wonderful, and the work that you're doing to protect the language and to instill that, teach it to the younger generation is very important.
Yes, it is.
So thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
I didn't have any areas of concern, and I'm happy to support your application.
I don't believe we have anything additional. I think everyone up here supports Grandma Connie.
Thank you.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Mr. Alex Johns is next.
Well, that's a tough act to follow.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners. My name's Alex Johns. I live in Okeechobee, Florida. I've been on the Hard Rock Board of Managers since 2015. I also sit on the Audit Committee. I was born in Okeechobee, raised on the Brighton Indian Reservation. The Brighton Indian Reservation is about 36,000 acres. It's a working cattle ranch. My father and my family, we ranched there way before it was an Indian reservation. So we were nomadic, but that was our homeland, and that was actually where our home camp was at. So I've had cattle there a long time. I followed in my father's footsteps with the cattle business. I graduated from Okeechobee High School in 1991. Went off to trade school soon after that. I got a trade certificate in equine dentistry and corrective horseshoeing. So I was a farrier. I did the stint in college, ended up getting my 2-year degree. Found out college, was pretty tough for me. I enjoyed being outdoors and horseback. So worked my way up through the tribe. I started out as a day working cowboy in 1997. And I learned how about the irrigation systems, the fertilization practices, the animal husbandry practices that were needed to manage a ranch. Eventually worked my way up to natural resource director for the entire tribe. At that time, overseeing about 13,000 mama cows and probably 200,000 acres of property. So we were scattered. The tribe had cattle scattered all around South Florida in 5 or 6 different counties. I managed 3 or 4 crews of day working cowboys, pretty rowdy bunch of guys, but we managed to get all the cattle processed every year. Recently, I was promoted to executive director of agriculture. So today I spend more of my time, riding and managing the lands, coordinating the staff, things like that. But I still get to get on a horse quite a bit and a tractor. But as you can see in my background, this first time I've been nervous talking to you, and first time when I met with the board last week, I've had some issues in my past that's come up that I disclosed in the investigations and all, but I took all those as opportunities on how to better myself, to be a better person. And I just want to thank y'all for the opportunity to be in front of you here today. So with that, I'll answer any questions.
Thank you. I'll start with Commissioner Cohen, since I never have started with you today.
Thank you. A well-rounded past. And I really don't have any questions other than you're the first person since I've been sitting on this commission to have a certified equine dental and corrective horseshoer.
Yes, sir.
I take it you don't do that anymore?
No, that's pretty rough work, rough from the back.
You moved on to greener pastures.
Yes, sir.
Oh.
I know. I'm not going to go into your past. I think, you've acknowledged it and, the issues, nothing recent, and I support your application. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Commissioner Brown?
I echo the sentiment. You have a fascinating background. I enjoy hearing about your grounding work that you do, and you get to be outside and you ride on horses and get on tractors. I've never met a daytime cowboy, at least not here. And so I'm impressed with your background, and I don't have any issues. I think the fact that you disclosed the areas of concern that might have been an area of concern, you've disclosed it, you seem humbled by it, and I don't think that I will see you coming before us as an issue anytime soon because it was so far in the past. And I understand there were unique circumstances in connection with the 1992 incident. So I don't have questions about it. I understand it. I read it, and thank you for humbly coming before us and for the full disclosure.
Thank you.
I have no areas of concern. Thank you.
Thank you. I also don't have any areas of concern with respect to the items that you disclosed. They were minor, relatively minor in nature, and they're so far in the past that it doesn't matter. It seems like you've learned from it, but I was curious as to the operation. How many people does it take to manage that many cattle over that much acreage?
So rule of thumb is we usually have 1 full-time employee to every 1,000 head. So 13,000 head would take approximately 13 employees.
Oh, wow.
Now, when we're processing cattle, that could triple because we'll bring in day workers, day working cowboys.
Does that include taking care of fencing and all of that?
No, the fencing is the 13 folks that anywhere from a secretary to, we were all cross-trained to run a computer or go build fence or get on a horse. So just a skeleton crew.
That's incredible. Yeah, I would have expected a much higher number, but I admittedly know very little about horses other than they go very fast when you don't want to be on them. So thank you so much for your presentation and for being here. And I look forward to seeing all that you and your colleagues accomplish.
Thank you.
I'm going to echo the comments of my fellow commissioners. I mean, as far as the information from your past, if it was 10 years ago, that would be one thing, but it's decades, plural, ago. So I don't have any areas of concern at this time, and I appreciate your appearance today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike Rumbles is next.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the commission. I've been accused of this being my favorite topic, which is me. So I'd like to start before I jump into that, though. I would like to start by thanking you for the opportunity. I know that special meetings are difficult and they're rare, and I really appreciate you taking the time today. I've been in the gaming industry a long time. This is probably one of my proudest moments to be associated with the Seminole Tribe of Florida. They're a fantastic group of individuals, but also a wonderful tribal operation. And they have treated their ownership of Hard Rock with great care and great thoughtfulness. Beyond that, I know you've all seen the video. I know you've got everything you'd need about me in front of you. So rather than drag this out any longer, I'd like to open it up to your questions for me.
Well, let me start by saying, as a fellow UNLV grad, I'm glad to see you here and to say that you can graduate from UNLV and do great things. So I'll open it up.
Your background speaks for itself, and I don't have any questions, but I am also a proud John S. Park alumni, so
Yes.
And UNLV. So I'm glad to see a fellow John S. Park grad do so well. Thank you so much.
I'll do one better. Not only John S. Park, but I've known Mr. Rumbles, John C. Fremont.
Oh, wow, that's a long time.
And when your years on the board, your record speaks for itself. I have absolutely no questions regarding your past, and I just thank you for being here and being associated with this application, everything you've done for the state of Nevada. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.
Very clean background. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I'll ask Rob Gibbs to come up next, please.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, it's a privilege to be here in front of you. And thank you, as Mike said, for this special meeting. And this time, I'm Rob Gibbs. I have served on the board of Seminole Hard Rock Entertainment since 2008 or so. My professional career since 1983 has been the representation of Indian tribes, Indian tribal governments, and people working with Indian tribes. So almost 40 years of doing that. My personal background, I'm a Midwesterner by birth and temperament, grew up outside Chicago, moved to New Jersey when I was in high school, did my undergraduate degree at Harvard, did a joint degree in law and business at Yale. I clerked for the Chief Justice of the New Jersey Supreme Court, and then I'd done a lot of community organizing and legal services work in college and law school. I wanted to work in community development in low-income areas, and I took a job in 1983, joining the two people who just finished the Maine Indian land claim settlement. It gives me sort of great pleasure to be here because of the history of my involvement in the gaming industry began with my first client, which was the Mashantucket Pequot Tribe of Connecticut. My first transaction was commercial transaction was helping them buy a piece of land on which Foxwoods Resort Casino now stands, and my first piece of litigation was one of the pre-Cabazon cases involving suing the state of Connecticut to establish that the tribe had the right to open its bingo under tribal rather than state law. Then after Cabazon and the Indian Gaming Regulatory Act. My second major piece of litigation was saying that the state had to allow the Pequot tribe to commence casino gaming, and what was the first major piece of litigation under the IGRA dealing with what negotiations in good faith meant, and the state failed to negotiate in good faith with us. We won that lawsuit and proceeded to develop what became Foxwoods Resort Casino. So I now work at a law firm in Maine, where I have since 2001, called Drummond Woodsum, about 115 lawyers. We have we represent about 20 to 35 tribes at any time around the country. I am a very poor lacrosse player, but I would like to note that two of my Native American partners were national level Iroquois national lacrosse players. So if that's relevant to your licensing consideration, I'd like to put that on the record. So it's a real privilege to be associated, as I have been since 2008, with the Seminole tribe, which I first got to know Jim Shore and Jim Allen when I was hired to represent the tribe in a dispute with the developer of the Hard Rock casinos, the Cordish Group. And from that, got to know them and was privileged to be able to join the board. As you can tell, Hard Rock, I work with tribes all over the country, some with gaming resorts and some other areas. And Hard Rock and the Seminole tribe remain a model for what tribes can achieve. So their accomplishments are not important only for the tribe, but they stand for what tribes elsewhere can do and aspire to. For example, the fact that the tribe made the decision in 2008 to run Hard Rock as a Sarbanes-Oxley compliant entity, which we have been ever since. That kind of thing is very important and a model for Indian country. So it's pleased, privileged to be in front of you, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Let me start with Commissioner Solis Rainey.
Just curious, have you ever had the opportunity to work with the Potawatomi tribe in Oklahoma?
Not the Citizens Band. I've worked most recently with the Quapaw tribe. We did refinancings last year of their downstream casino in Oklahoma and of their casino in Arkansas, a state licensed casino. But
Just curious, my
I
husband.
work with the Pokagon Band of Potawatomi, who I've worked with in Michigan, who run the Four Winds Casino Resorts and are opening up their new $300 million, 35-story hotel tower in South Bend, Indiana. So I do work with some Potawatomi tribes, but not the Oklahoma Potawatomi.
I've been to the casino in South Bend. It's a beautiful facility.
Come back after March 23rd when we open the hotel. It'll be really nice.
I'll definitely try to look it up next time I'm there. But thank you for all of the efforts that you've undertaken on behalf of the various tribes. I think they've accomplished great things in a very short amount of time. And anything we can do to support that, I think is very much appreciated. Thank you.
Commissioner Cohen,
Nothing. Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Brown.
It's not every day I meet a Harvard and a Yale graduate. Congratulations on that. That's quite an accomplishment. What piqued your interest in Native American law in the first instance? I know you've been involved in that since 1983.
Well, when I really I've been doing legal services work when I was in law school, but it always felt like Band-Aids. You could help somebody get their welfare benefits extended, or you could help them, with a housing problem, but you couldn't provide jobs or income. So I wanted to use my business degree and law degree toward that objective of creating jobs in low-income communities. I knew nothing about Indian tribes. I just had this opportunity. And obviously at that point, tribal economies didn't exist, and in fact, it wasn't clear in legal circles whether tribes could waive their sovereign immunity to enter into transactions absent an act of Congress. It wasn't clear how agreements would be enforceable. There were lots of obstacles. So it seemed like a really interesting area to work in, and proud of what collectively a lot of people have accomplished.
Have you ever considered teaching at a law school?
I think teaching would be very hard. No,
The students need to
great
learn.
respect for academics, but I'm
Students need to
more,
learn from
I like
somebody.
to do transactions. I like to actually get things done. So that's more my, no offense to any academics.
How did you get involved? And I don't know if I'm saying this correctly, in the Passamaquoddy Wild Blueberry Company as a board
Thank
member?
you for raising it. It's one of my pro bono activities that we have represented the Passamaquoddies and Penobscots and Micmacs in Maine, which, by the way, you may all know or not know that the Indian Game Regulatory Act is not applicable in Maine because of the Maine Settlement Act of 1980. And therefore, there are not tribal casinos in Maine. So the Passamaquoddy Wild Blueberry Company, we are the largest independent grower of wild blueberries in the United States. It's actually an important company for the tribe in terms of its economic development. I was originally the clerk of the company as a lawyer representing them, but for the last about 20 years, I've been the non-Indian on the board. They have 2 reservations, and it's actually very helpful to have somebody who is not part of either reservation who's on the board to help with certain internal issues. So
Thank you for explaining that. I have no areas of concern. Thank you.
Nor do I. Thank you very much for being here today, and we appreciate your presentation.
thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Joe Lupo would be next.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, pleasure to be here today. I hope you can understand why I'm so proud that and of the confidence that Mr. Allen had in me to be chosen as the future president, respecting the process here. The excitement that I have to be here today after you can see who the individuals that I'm going to be working with and working for, to be back here in Las Vegas where I started my career. And I'm in a position that there would probably be a line a mile long for the shoes that I'm going to fill here at the Mirage. There's a great group of people here that I've gotten a chance to know so far. And we have a lot of people here on property. We've already started communicating about unity and that changeover and with that help from MGM. My children are here. My 3-year-old granddaughter is here. It's going to be a great holiday back in Las Vegas, so I'm excited about that. The presentation that you saw, and obviously being able to oversee not only the Mirage and that great group of people, an iconic property, but being able to oversee Hard Rock Las Vegas in the future would just be something that a person in my shoes, that's reaching the pinnacle, and I'm really excited about it. More so being able to work for the tribe in Jamalin and that effort. I graduated also from UNLV in 1986. Very fortunate to work for Mr. Boyd for 30 years. Boyd Gaming and the leaders that he had there taught me a lot. I learned a lot. They were very open to opportunities for me. I grew with the company, promoted throughout the 17 years here in Las Vegas. Worked at the famed Stardust Race and Sportsbook for quite a while. That was quite a property, a lot of characters. If anyone knows that property back in that time, we had a lot of, I think, there was a lot of notoriety about the property. There were some incidents that happened there during that time, a lot of standouts. But in the meantime, having Boyd operate that property shortly after they purchased the Fremont where I started, brought a lot of integrity to operating that business. We're on the ground floor of where it is today. I can be really proud to look at and see there's sports gaming in over half the country. And that regulatory process, working with the regulators, noting that that legalized sports wagering will add integrity to the sports fields and the sports leagues was really important. And I think one of the reasons why going back to Nevada at that time, why we've seen that proliferation here today. I was promoted to VP of Operations in 2003 at Borgata. It was a joint venture between MGM and Boyd. Boyd was the operating part back then. It was a very successful property. I was senior VP of operations for non-gaming operations as well as gaming operations. That went especially well from a standpoint after the recession. Took that to even greater heights, and it still stands as one of the premier properties in Atlantic City. In 2016, I joined Seminole Hard Rock Tampa. And I tell you, coming from Boyd Gaming for so long and then joining the Seminole tribe at that time and understand the values, it was just a really consistent, easy change for me. Even though I changed to a new jurisdiction, I changed to operating and helping oversee a big property, one of the biggest gaming operators in the country. Very successful there, was there for a couple of years. And then it was a couple months after that I joined Hard Rock Atlantic City in 2018. They opened in the summer of 2018. And we went through the pandemic. And while I've had a really positive, successful career, really proud of the financial gains that we had at all of those properties. It was really taking the culmination of working 30 years with great teams and great organizations and having the support from Mr. Allen, Seminole Tribe, that you saw during the pandemic, how we could help the employees, help the community, set records for charitable dollars that we donated, set records for the financial gains and the financial increases that we saw. at the last 4-year period where I just left, I was president of the Casino Association of New Jersey. Again, it's that market is a tough market. It hasn't grown too much, but it was a tough time. So I was very proud to be voted in for that the last year that I was there. I've come here in October. Really looking forward to the opportunity. We have a great number of people set and working very hard currently at our offices at the Hughes Center, at the Mirage right now, working on that transition. Want to be transparent about two topics I brought up with the board. There were 2 items when I worked in Nevada during that 17-year period. One back in '89, I made a wager for my boss. There was an allegation against him, nothing against me. During the investigation, I was suspended and pending investigation for a few days. Went back to work. There was no issue after that. I worked for 14 years following that period of time, in probably the most high-profile position in sports betting here at the Stardust. And then in 2002, I was told I was put on a list by the NCAA as a tout. My definition of that at that time was somebody who's paid to provide betting information. I was one of the more vocal people trying to support legislation against abolishing sports betting. I thought the legalized ramifications of here being in Nevada and the regulatory oversight was really important as well. I was on TV and on the newspaper every week, and every week I was talking about sports betting. So whether there was a error in their judgment, it certainly is something that was irrelevant to me at the time because it just wasn't valid with no credibility, no foundation whatsoever. With that, again, I couldn't be more humbled to be standing here with the group of people that are behind me, and looking forward to the opportunity.
Thank you. Commissioner Brown, do you have any questions?
Thank you so much for your presentation and for addressing those 2 areas, but there's one you didn't touch on, and it sounds like a scene from a movie. Who are you trying to visit in the hospital, and are you still friends? I know it happened a really long time ago. It's not an area of concern, but I want to know what was going on that night. You're like, you got to get in there.
Well, I was in college. I was back in Ohio, where I'm originally from Akron, Ohio. It was right before we were all going back. I was coming back here to UNLV, and it was that group of friends. Let's get together one more time before we all split up. We had a friend that was in the hospital. One of our teammates and one of the individuals that we graduated with was in the hospital, and we thought it'd be a good idea to go see him and pay our respects as kind, generous
Loyal
people that
friend.
we are. The only thing, it was midnight, and we felt that the best way to get up there was to put on scrubs, and we did get up there to see our friend, but that wasn't permitted being the hours of operation.
Are you still friends?
We are.
Well, you're a loyal friend. I put you in that box then.
Thanks for bringing that up.
Yes.
Sure.
It's a sweet story. I have no areas of concern. Clean record. Thank you.
I remember the colorful days of the Stardust. Were you ever on Rosenthal's TV show?
I was not. He had left obviously by then. I was on that show, and we cultivated more shows like that. That show lasted to the day I left, that Sunday night show, and we cultivated more daily shows. But yeah, it had a rich history and a colorful history, if I can say.
At the time the NC2A was calling you for tout, because I was involved with representing some people with the NC2A at that point in time. Was Burst still there? David Burst, the director of enforcement?
I do not recall. I don't recall that name.
But I appreciate your comments about they make an allegation with nothing to back it up and with no rhyme or reason. But
Yeah, and again, I was on TV and all the time here locally and nationally. So obviously, when you do that, they ask who you like and what the odds are and things like that. And I could understand why there'd be confusion.
back then it was frowned upon, and today it's embraced.
Yeah, and it was frowned upon elsewhere, right? There was a lot of illegal wagering going on throughout the United States, except for here in Nevada. So that was I think again the linchpin to understand how the regulatory environment worked.
I appreciate you addressing the concerns, as addressed by the board. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Solis-Rainey.
Thank you. I was trying to remember if you were at the Fremont when I started with Boyd Gaming, or if you were at the Stardust. I know I
was
audited
there
your department a number of times.
I was there from '86 to I was there when the Rebels won the national championship, so that was
Okay,
90.
yeah, I
So-
thought you were at the Fremont. Okay. Yeah, I started in March of 1990 with the company.
I
and
probably
then-
just left.
Yeah.
Or I might have still
No, I
been.
think you were still there.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you were still there, and then you moved. I remember when you moved over to the Stardust. So, yeah, it was a fun time. Miss Ralph Purnell.
Was,
He's a
thank you.
Great mentor. I don't have any areas of concern. The incidents that you disclosed, are so far back that I don't think they have any bearing on your current suitability. But I appreciate you being here, and I wish you the best of luck. I think this is a historic time, and wish all the success to
Thank you.
the property and the Seminole tribe.
We will work hard at it.
Thank you.
I'm satisfied with all of the questions that you've answered to our investigations and the board. And so what's left of them. And so I appreciate you being here today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Madam Chair, that is all of the individuals. And I think that concludes at least our entire presentation. Once again, on behalf of all of the parties, we'd like to thank you for this special meeting. It's a very courteous accommodation. And you've heard today, again, the parties are working very, very hard to accomplish a seamless transition. It's an incredible day and a historic day with an incredible group of people, as you've seen and talked to. And at this time, I think we'd ask for your affirmative vote.
And we're talking about the draft order.
Yeah,
Using,
I was
we
gonna
have some
skip
Wi-Fi
that.
problems,
Yeah.
so I actually have to use like cell data roaming hotspot right now to look at the latest.
It's a draft number 2.
Two, it's not one.
Dated
It's two.
November 29th.
Um,
No
yeah.
changes since the board meeting.
Yeah. So I have Nicole texting me the date of the order because I didn't have it handy. So, okay. All right. Well, it appears this is ripe for a motion at this time. If there are no additional questions or comments.
Madam Chair, I would move for approval of non-restricted item number 1 as read into the record by Madam Secretary and as recommended by the Gaming Control Board, and would authorize you to sign draft 2 of the order of registration dated November 29th, 2022. Did I miss anything?
Discussion on the motion? There being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And it appears there are none opposed. Okay,
Congratulations.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Historical moment, truly.
Thank you. Okay, Madam Secretary, could you please read in our second item?
Non-restricted number 2 are the applications of MGM Resorts International and Mandalay Resort Group LLC for amendments to their order of registration. It is also the application of Mandalay Bay LLC doing business as the Mirage Race Book and Sports Pool for licensure to operate a satellite race book and sports pool and to conduct off-track pari-mutuel race and sports wagering. The recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for approval with conditions as noted on the agenda. I believe we have a disclosure on this item.
Okay, we have a disclosure on this item.
I made my disclosure earlier.
Yep.
In connection with non-restricted item number 2, and I'd like to incorporate that as part of the record.
And on behalf of Commissioner Kekeffer, I am going to incorporate herein by reference his disclosure and recusal on this item from the non-restricted number 1, or the first item on our agenda for this special meeting. So that is incorporated herein. And I should note for the record, if I could go back to agenda item number 1, that Commissioner Kekeffer did not participate in the discussion or the vote, and he will not participate in the discussion or vote in this matter.
Okay.
Good morning still.
Good morning, Chair Tagliati, Commissioners, Secretary Rupert up in Carson City. For the record, Sean McGinnis with Butler Snow on behalf of MGM Resorts International. With me at the podium is Chandler Pohl, Legal Counsel for MGM Resorts International, And we appreciate the waiver of Pat Madamba's appearance so he could appear by Zoom, but there's been some technical issues. But I just want to assure you that he has been watching the meeting on YouTube, and I have him on speakerphone on my phone right here. So if he needs to speak, I can hold it up to the microphone, but I believe that Mr. Pohl and I should be able to answer any questions you have, but we just wanted to have for the record that he's appearing, and we appreciate the accommodation for him to appear virtually. We also would like to thank you for the special meeting for this matter as well on behalf of MGM. This is a companion piece, and essentially just as an overview, at present, the sports book at the Mirage is an outstation to MGM Central Site Book at Mandalay Bay, and outstations are what they are when you're connecting to a Central Site Book for a company that's affiliated with you. But upon the Hard Rock acquiring and operating the Mirage, then it's no longer eligible to be an outstation. So this is what this application is for, to make it a satellite location. It essentially would be a seamless change. Patrons won't notice anything different happen. The company has already taken steps to move the book employees over to become Mandalay Bay employees to comply with one of the conditions that the board placed on it. And we're here to just answer any questions you may have.
It's, as far as the order, you've looked at the order.
Yep, that is fine. It's the only one there was. It's draft one, November 3rd, I believe.
Correct.
Yep.
Okay. I don't have any questions, straightforward, but I'll open it up to any.
Yeah, I just had a quick question for you. I have no issues with the application. It's fine. So the book will operate under the Mandalay license.
But well, it'll be its own license as a satellite location connected to Mandalay Bay.
Will the signage change at all in the book? In other words, because it is going to be quote Hard Rock, and I realize they take over on Monday.
Let me ask Mr. Pohl to answer that. I don't.
The sports book is Chandler Pohl, last name Pohl, P-O-H-L for the record. The sports book will remain the same in terms of its branding. It'll be branded as a BetMGM sports book operated by the Mandalay Bay. And the tickets will still have the Mirage logo, so there'll be no confusion for the patrons if they get a paper ticket where they need to go to claim it.
Very good. I have no issues with this application whatsoever.
I don't have anything other. It's pretty straightforward. Thank you.
Thank you, and we appreciate your patience. At this time, I guess Commissioner Cohen has a motion.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chair. Move for approval of non-restricted agenda item number 2 is read into the record by Madam Secretary, and authorize Chair Tagliati to execute draft number 1 dated as of 11/3/22.
Any discussion on the motion? There being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And there are none opposed. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Regards to Mr. Madamba on your conference call.
I don't see it. Do we do public comment and then?
Madam Secretary, if we could close with public comments, please.
This item is placed on the agenda to give the public an opportunity to comment on gaming-related matters.
Okay, going first to Carson City, is there anyone present wishing to make public comment?
There is no one.
All right, thank you. And here in Las Vegas, anyone present wish to make public comment? There being no one, that will close our public comment section. This concludes the special Nevada Gaming Commission meeting for today. We are adjourned. Thank you.